Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well today. My backdrop. The only time it does it is on this app. I don't know why either is, but anyway, you get to see the background behind my wall, behind my green screen, and it doesn't look like I'm at Fenway, though I think most of you probably know I'm actually not at Fenway. I've been to Fenway. Went to Fenway in 1999 with my brother. Great experience. Got my Nomar Garciaparra jersey. Got my All-Star Game patch. Still have it in the closet right now. Maybe I'll wear it one of these days. Good old number 5 Red Sox jersey. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Thanks for joining me here today on the show. We appreciate it. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at about 12:30, about halfway into the show. On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we have a guest join us here on the show. Tuesdays, it's Armando Marçal. Wednesdays, it's Rich Mileto. Thursdays, it's Tyler Beaker. And today on Friday, it will be Russell J. Clay. What are we talking about on the show? Well, let's throw it up on the screen. That's what we're talking about. We got a boiling matchup here between the Padres and the Dodgers. Most intense rivalry in the game right now. Better than the Dodgers and the Giants. Better than the Red Sox and the Yankees. We'll talk a little bit about it. Jackson Chourio, Riley Greene, Willson Contreras, Ryan Jeffers, even though it says Rhea. Ryan Jeffers, excuse me. Isiah Falefa. Let's give a shout out to the guy that doesn't ever get talked about, but it's actually been pretty effective this year. Some youngsters of note, including one that's been demoted. Then we'll look at the Hill. Spencer Strider looks like he's back. Clay Holmes, some concerns. Michael Wacha, Max Scherzer, Tony Gonsolin, and Blake Tidwell. In about 25-30 minutes, we will visit with Russell Clay. And today we're going to do something fun. We're going to do something a little different. We're going to do some either or, which is basically an old bit, if you remember back to Sirius XM when I used to work with Kyle, Frank, and Kay Adams. Either or. We'll do an either or. I'll throw 2 guys out based upon ADP and say, hey, Russ, who do you want this year? So we'll do that with Russell Clay here in a few minutes. If you're watching the show live or listening live, welcome. Glad you're here with us. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. You can follow me on social medias at the Ray Flowers. You can go to fantasyguru.com and click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page to find this show and all the previous shows catalog. You can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Music, Pandora. Check it out. Type in Fantasy Sports Daily there. And then 3 places you can watch live or on demand and leave comments during the show that we can address. YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Twitter.com/FantasyGuruHQ, and Facebook.com/FantasyHQ. All right, so let's check it out here. By the way, John G says, Christopher Sanchez, 16 ground ball outs last night. Yeah, he pitched really well last night. We have a variety of shows on the Sirius XM platform. So there's this show at 12 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Jeff Mann's show, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. I'm actually going to be on a bonus show. I'll be on with Jeff today from 3 to 6 as well. And then the Elite Sports Game Time show, 8 to 10 Eastern, Monday through Friday with Justin Fenchman and I. Last night on the 8 to 10 Elite Sports Game Time show, Justin and I spent a good deal of time talking about Christopher Sanchez, who is pitching very well. A programming note, next week things will change just for the week. We'll still be here at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Jeff Mann will still be on at 3 o'clock Eastern in the middle of the day on Sirius XM. But Justin and my show, the Elite Sports Game Time show, which is 8 to 10 tonight, and normally 8 to 10 in the evening, Eastern Standard Time, will be moving to the mornings. Okay? We're going to be on 9 to 11. I think that's right. 6 o'clock this time. Yeah. 9 to 11 Eastern Standard Time next week. We're taking over the Jeff Radcliffe show for a week. I guess he's on vacation. So Justin and I are moving to the morning slot next week on Sirius XM. 9 to 11 Eastern. Justin and I on the Elite Sports Game Time show. Next week only, 1 week only. Ray Flowers will be getting up at 5:30 in the morning to do that show. And after that show, we'll hop over and do this show. So check that out next week. All right. John also asked the question, why is tonight's Mets-Phillies game on Apple TV? Wheeler pitching, division so tight. I pay extra for local sports to watch the Phillies, but I'm going to miss a huge matchup. This is a problem with all sports. They do this because they can. And I've said this many times, and I say it, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but really, I don't know how much the leagues really care about you or me. They care about getting new people. They figure if you're already a fan, John, you're going to stick with them no matter what, so they can kind of shaft you a little bit. Velma and Frank who don't watch baseball, who have Apple TV, maybe they'll watch the game tonight. And then maybe they'll get a little interested in baseball. And then maybe they'll want to subscribe to something. They're always looking to capture new people instead of taking care of the people they already have. The NFL is notorious for this, playing games in foreign countries, all times of the day, taking home games away from people. Remember, in football, you only get 8 or 9 home games. So taking a home game away from the fans is terrible. They go and play games in Sao Paulo, and they're playing in Europe, and so it's not good. I wish there should be one package for sports, one for baseball, one for football, one for basketball, one for hockey, and you should get all the shows on all the networks. Just not how it is anymore. It's unfortunate. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the players that are on the news. And I mentioned this. Is the best rivalry in baseball right now the Dodgers and the Braves? Interestingly enough, the Dodgers and the Braves are battling this out. And, you might want to look at the fact that the Giants are actually between them in the standings. But anyway, Padres and the Dodgers battling this thing out. Their guys are getting hit all over the place. Fernando Tatis has been hit like 3 times in 7 games. There's bench clearing stuff. The managers were yelling at each other last night if you missed it. Fernando Tatis got hit in the hand by a pitch for the 3rd time in those 7 games. X-rays are negative, but they're going to continue to run tests. We had Manny Machado after the game issuing threats. You better be okay or else kind of stuff. They're pretty wild. And, the game is what it is. And, no one got hit in the head. So, okay. I think this is good for the sport. Rivalry is good for the sport. And the Padres are a damn exciting, fun, good team. The Dodgers, are either the evil empire or the best team in baseball, right? I think it's good for baseball, too, to not be nationally centered on the East Coast. And I know the times are different and everything like that. I got to get up at freaking before the sun sometimes for you folks on the East Coast. But a lot of East Coasters don't want to stay up past dark for the West Coast. It's really a weird thing. West Coasters adapt, East Coasters don't. I get texts and calls from East Coast people at 5 in the morning all the time because they forget it's 5 in the morning. If I, heaven forbid, I text someone at 7 o'clock at night on the West Coast, 10 o'clock East Coast time. Oh my God, right? It'd be nice if baseball featured the West Coast a little bit more on a national scene. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani is the biggest player in the world across the season, all of that. But I think this is good for baseball. Obviously, we don't want anyone to get hurt. Obviously, we're now bated breath with Fernando Tatis, and these teams playing each other. Starting to be appointment TV, which I think is good for the sport. Though let's stop hitting each other. That'd be the best way to do that. And say John G says, I know I get frustrated. Oh, I'll be well. I'll be at the game tomorrow. See, that's the thing, John. They got you, and they don't care. And if I ran a business, that's not how I would do it. I don't ignore the people that subscribe at fantasyguru.com because they're already there. I take care of the people at fantasyguru.com because they're there, right? By the way, you can click the subscribe tab in the top right corner and get signed up with the product over at FG. Baseball product, football product. The baseball product right now is one package, seasonal DFS and wagering, everything all together. That's how the pro sports do it. Hope you at least enjoy the game, John, when you're there. Hope the weather's good. Jackson Chourio went 2 for 5 with a stolen base last night as we move on from the Dodgers and Padres. Again, about 20 minutes from now, we'll talk some football with Russell Clay. Jackson Chourio goes 2 for 5 with that steal. And, his last 30 games, he's hitting 271, which isn't great, but it's a little bit better than he had been hitting. He's got 5 home runs and 6 steals in 30 games. That's more like it. And he's got 17 RBIs. And we've talked about him a little bit here. And it's really easy to forget. Like a guy comes up and he's really good as a rookie. And you kind of just say, okay, that's who he is. Jackson Chourio is 21 years old in 3 months. He's barely 21 years old. And last year he went 2020. And though his season in the first half here has been very uneven, hot stretches, cold stretches, still only has 10 walks in 75 games, which is horrendous. It's on pace to a 25-30. I mean, and again, this is what is so exciting about Jackson Chourio in particular. But if I could do one critique, and I just said it, he has got to walk more. His on-base percentage is 284. It's awful. League average 310, 315. 284 on-base percentage is patently awful. As exciting and fancy as he is in the fantasy space, the goal of a player in baseball is to not make outs. The most important thing in baseball is outs. You get 27 of them. Once you hit 27 of hit, the game is over. He is a really poor offensive player when you look at it through that lens of getting on base. And frankly, look at his WOBA. His WOBA is 318. League average about 315. all the great things he does, he's basically a league average offensive player, which I know is not his fantasy value, but his offensive game is basically league average. And that's, he is 21. I would expect this to change. And that is a minor critique because in the fantasy space, he's going to go 25, 30, 30, 30. No one's going to care. He could have a massive second half. He's just been uneven here in the first half. Riley Greene went 2 for 4 yesterday with the home run. Oh, excuse me, with the 3-run double, sack fly. And Greene is an interesting player. All right, do you remember? Let's go back to April, shall we? And let's go back to complaints about Riley Greene here on the show and Discord and all that. And hopefully you took the advice that was given here on the show and over at FG, and you kept Riley Greene. You didn't drop him. You didn't rage drop him or rage trade him or any of that kind of stuff. Because he's on a 150-game pace now to go 31-10. And he's hitting 280. He's a really good offensive player. He is somebody that started out slowly. There were a ton of strikeouts early on. And that's a problem. We were talking about the walks with Chourio not being there, the strikeouts being there. Now he still has a 31% strikeout rate, which is bad, Riley Greene. Number is way down from where it was to start, but that is still a bad number. He's going to have to improve that. If he doesn't improve that, he's going to hit 260 instead of 280. If he hits 260 and goes 31-10, is anyone really going to be upset by that? No. I'm a little disappointed. I mean, he's not a speedster. He's never been a speedster, but he is a guy that I was hoping would steal 10 bases a year. He's got 13 steals in his career, so not really looking like that's going to happen at this point. You never know. He's 25. He's 24 in 8 months. 24 and 8 months, not 24 in 8 months. But again, I think he's well poised to have his best season. Yet the Tigers playing great baseball, and after that slow start, Riley Greene been one of the more productive offensive players in the American League. Willson Contreras had a game-tying 2-run home run in the 8th inning last night. Willson Contreras, another player that struggled to start the year. Willson Contreras obviously qualifies at catcher in every league this season. He has not played catcher a single game this year, which means next year, he's 33 right now. He'll be 34 next season. He's not a huge power guy. As a first baseman, he's very blah. So next year we'll have to reassess his outlook in the fantasy space. But this year is a catcher-eligible player. All good, man. Despite that slow start for him, he's got his batting average up to 249, which is about where it's been the last 5 years. He's got his on-base percentage up to 339. That's a little low, but he was really bad to start. So he's been himself basically for 6, 7, 8 weeks now. And there's still some room to grow here. His OPS of 761 would be his lowest mark since 2018. So I think there is still some room to grow. Still hits the ball hard. Still basically plays every day since besides the injury that he missed a little bit of time. He's on pace as a catcher to go 250, 20, 100. So he's basically on pace to be Salvador Perez. So there you go. So if you drafted him, you maintained the faith with him, and you didn't rage drop him, getting a great effort from Willson Contreras as well. Ryan Jeffers homered and drove in 4 runs yesterday. Jeffers is a really interesting dude because he's 28 and he's probably developed to who he's going to be. And that is not a top shelf catching option, but at the same time, he's on the next tier. I know everyone wants a guy hitting 300 or hitting 30 home runs, but how many catchers hit 300? How many hit 30 home runs? He had 21 home runs and 64 RBIs last year, did Jeffers, but he hit 226. That batting average piece was way below the 276 hit year before. So the question was, at development here, is he going to be a 265 hitter? Is he going to be a 235 hitter? Which one is it? And, is it worth giving up 30 batting average points to go from 15 home runs to 23? Well, this year he's kind of trying to do a little bit of the middle. It'd be nice to see the power stroke pick up a little bit. He's got a 752 OPS, which is slightly higher than last year. It's obviously better than the league average. He's got a 352 on base percentage. Second time in 3 years, He's looking at potentially having a mark of 350, which is nice. He takes a walk. And last year, he made one significant change, which helped elevate his batting average and his overall game. Actually, it didn't help elevate his batting average, but it helped elevate his overall game. He went from striking out 28% of the time to striking out 20% of the time. Huge difference. This year, walk rate is up, still striking out 20% of the time. Love seeing that. Love seeing the fact he's putting the ball in play more. The batted ball data is much improved overall from last season. It did go down last year where it looked like, hey, I'm just making contact and not trying to drive the ball as much. This year, he's making as much contact and driving the ball a little bit better. Bottom line is I could see him hitting 250 this year. I could see him still hitting 15 home runs. And that works. 250, 1560, which is in play, not sexy, but you drafted him as a catcher too. And if he does that, you'll be plenty happy with Ryan Jeffers. Next up, Isiah Falefa. And that is a guy whose name barely fits on the back of his jersey. He's a guy whose game is kind of small. You know, he's not sexy, doesn't really stand out, none of that stuff, but he's 2 for 5. He drove in a pair of runs last night for the Pirates. And you look at him in 63 games, you know, 1 home run, 17 RBIs. It's terrible. He is hitting 288, and he does have 9 steals. And he is kind of the quintessential pick him up off the waiver wire, use him for a couple of weeks, and then drop and forget him that he was ever on your team kind of guy, right? So that's just, you know, those are the kind of guys that no one really is excited about or interested in. But depending upon your setup, right, he might qualify at second base, shortstop, third base. I mean, he might qualify at all of them. And the last month, he's hitting 295, over 88 at bats. Little player, little value, not a bad pickup. Hopefully has some positional flexibility. Just wanted to give him a shout out. Cool name. And give him a little shout out. He had a big game last night. Jack Caglianone, who we talked about, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. It might have been the day before. Well, it would have been yesterday, would have been Wednesday. So, yeah, it might have been Tuesday we talked about him. And the fact that he started slow. Well, he had 2 home runs last night. And one of the home runs, if you didn't see it, the pitch was like at his chest. We've had PCA did that. Isiah Falefa did that. And who was the third one that did that yesterday? I'm drawing a blank. Maybe I'll think of it. Like 3 guys have hit, Cole Keith, have all hit home runs on pitches like at their chest. Not easy to do. So Caglianone hit 2 home runs yesterday. All is right in the world now. He's still hitting 196, but got to give him time, just what he said earlier this week. And he launched a couple of home runs last night for the Royals. Here's not depressing story, but, you know, we've talked about Kristian Campbell. When the season started, Kristian Campbell was great. His April was really good. Then we talked about the fact how May was looking pretty damn terrible for him. And it's continued into June. So the Red Sox have made the decision to send Campbell down to AAA. Now remember, he signed an 8-year, $60 million contract, so he's getting paid regardless. So don't feel too bad for him. He's getting paid regardless. And this is, again, why a lot of these young players, when you look at them, it's like, why would you sign a contract like that when you could potentially make $90 million? Well, what if you don't perform? You know, Kristian Campbell's getting $60 million, whether he's playing in AAA or not. But he was hitting 300 with almost 400, 500 slash in April. Since then, he's hitting 159, and he's got like a 220 OPS, or 220 slugging percentage, excuse me. He just hasn't hit. And there were always things, and we know this looking at his swing, he's talented and athletic. And his talent and athleticism allowed him to be successful while he was still learning how to really hit. And when you're down at AAA and you're more talented and more athletic than everyone else, that works. At the big league level, everyone's as talented and athletic as you are, right? So Campbell will go down, and this could be this kind of scenario where he's down for 2 weeks and he's back. It could be 6 weeks. We just don't know. You probably already made your decision on Campbell. If you've been holding on to Campbell to this point, I think it's fair to drop him. I think it was fair to drop him a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, if you will. David Hamilton likely takes over at second base in the interim. Hamilton can't hit. He's been really awful this year hitting, but he can run. He can steal a base. And there was a question in the Discord over at FG yesterday. You know, if your goal is to get a guy that all of a sudden out of nowhere is playing every day, who can steal a base, Hamilton's not the worst way to go. Certainly in an AL-only league, which I think the question was. Certainly in an AL-only league, he's a must-add at this point because he could run with this job for a good deal of time. But on a mixed league scenario, I'd be very reluctant to pick up Hamilton, though. He's somebody that you can put that little check mark to and put him on your watch list, if you will. Jordan Alvarez, we got an update on him yesterday from the manager of the Astros, Joe Espada. Still not hitting. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. He had the broken bone that they took forever to find. Then they shut him down. Then he tries to hit and there's pain. I don't know. I got pain in my hand right now. I'm still playing through it. I'm sore. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember where I injured my hand. I can't remember where it was. It's really interesting. Kind of like, hey, this scenario. Maybe I'm Jordan Alvarez. But yeah, we don't know when Alvarez is going to return at this point. As I said earlier this week, it's not going to be in June. I'd be stunned if it's in June because he's still not even swinging a bat. How much time is he going to need down on the farm? Let's hope he's back before the All-Star break. I think it's fair to assume that's the case. But notice I said the word assume. We just don't have any clarity when it comes to Yordan Alvarez. Let's talk a little pitching before we visit and talk some football with Russell Clay of FantasyGuru.com. Spencer Strider, double-digit strikeout game against the Rockies. Okay, yes. How do you look last night against the Mets? Yes. Spencer Strider looks like he's back. 6 innings last night, 1-run baseball. I think he walked 1 and struck out 8. Had a good effort, got a quality start, of course, in that one. The good news is that he had 5 pitches at about 98 miles an hour, so the velocity was a little bit up from his last time out, and that's been the missing piece. The velocity hasn't been down with Strider. Like, he's not throwing 94 miles an hour. But that elite level velocity, that 97, 96 and 98 that he consistently sits at, hadn't really been there, but last night it was. Really good to see. So that's 2 straight strong efforts for him. It seems, again, like he's back. The team is comfortable with him pitching 6 innings, going 95 pitches, that kind of a thing. So for those of you that have been waiting for Spencer Strider, and it's been a longer wait than we thought, he had a setback there too, as we're all aware of. Looks like he's finally back to being the SP1 that we know he can be. Let's hope he can stay healthy now. On the other side of that matchup last night between the Mets and the Braves, Clay Holmes walked 6 guys, and he walked a guy in at the end before they pulled him out. Brazovan actually came in relief, and then he walked a guy in, so that was great pitching by the Mets there. But Clay Holmes, he has been terrific. And if you drafted Clay Holmes, I think to this point in time, minus last night, you got everything you were expecting. He's been very, very good. Even with the rough effort last night, his ERA is 3.04 and his WHIP is 1.23. He's been very good. If you had said, hey, Clay Holmes is going to make 15 starts with those numbers, sign us all up. As I expressed on the Elite Sports Game Time show last night, remember, next week, 1 week only, Justin and I again will be on 9 to 11 Eastern on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio in the morning. So take us with you while you're driving to work or while you're getting your cup of coffee or whatever it might be. As I mentioned last night, we're at 83 innings now for Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes has already thrown more innings this season, and we're just under the halfway point. He's thrown more innings this season than he has in any big league season to date. This is now his 8th season in the big leagues, and he's already at an innings pitch tie because obviously he's been a reliever for years. He does have the kind of game that you would think traditionally a guy that keeps the ball down in the zone, sinker kind of guy. The traditional thinking is when you get tired, maybe your arm slot drops even a little bit more, causes the ball to run and move a little bit more so you can potentially work with it. We'll see with Clay Holmes. The Mets obviously need pitching. There's rumors about them needing pitching help. Blake Tidwell, who's on the list here, I'll just mention him now. Blake Tidwell is going to start today actually for the Mets. He didn't pitch well his last time in the bigs. He hasn't been pitching great down on the farm. Don't go the Tidwell route. Looks like Montas is going to return next week, which is obviously very good news for them. They're without Senga for at least a month because of the hamstring injury. Manaya's getting close, so But Holmes makes me a little bit nervous. And so if you have Holmes and you've been riding Holmes, it's the Mets. It's a tough time to trade him now. This is the thing. This is not a new storyline with me talking to you guys about the workload piece, right? So it's going to be tough to trade Clay Holmes today because he looked really bad last night. But if he goes out next time and has a solid effort, you might consider moving on for him. Because again, we just don't know how many innings the Mets are going to let him throw, how he's going to perform when those innings pile up. To reiterate, in his 8th season, he's already thrown more big league innings this year than he's ever thrown before. And we're not even halfway through the year. So bottom line is he's on pace to 170 innings last year. That'd be 100 innings more than he's ever thrown in the majors. Got to be concerned there with Clay Holmes. Next up, Michael Wacha. Michael Wacha gave 106 innings last night, and Michael Wacha has really been an interesting pitcher for a few years now because he's, 34? Well, 34 in 2 weeks. He's 33, 4. He's been around since 2013. He came up with a lot of promise, had a couple of good seasons, and then kind of fell on some hard times. But the last 3.5 years, he's really found himself. And that was first with Boston, then it was with San Diego, now he's with the Royals. So he's popped around. And last year he threw 166 innings, which is important because the previous 6 years he failed to throw 135 innings. But he'd been good. And this year he's doing the same thing again. He's really interesting. He's got a 3.24 ERA, a 1.19 WHIP. Look at his WHIP since 2022. 1.12, 1.16, 1.99, 1.99. Look at his ERA since 2022. 3.32, 3.22, 3.35, 3.24. Eerily similar numbers in each of the 4 seasons, which is almost impossible to do. Whatever your level is, it's almost impossible to be a 10th off or less year after year after year like this. He's up to 86 innings. He has never, as a big leaguer, thrown back-to-back seasons, of 140 innings. And he's only thrown 140 innings one time since 2017. Is he going to be able to do it this year again? Because remember, he threw 166 last year. If he can get that innings pitch mark to 160 again, or 170 or 180, if he can get to 160, boy, is he going to pay off for people that rostered him this year, because he's really effective. Now, the one concern I would have besides that piece is the strikeout rate, which has been slightly below the league average the last 4 years, is now down to 18.2%. That is alarming. That's too low of a number. He's a good pitcher and he can work around things and everything, but that's too low of a mark. His chase rate of 26.6% would be a 5-year low. His CSW of 24.8 would be about a point below his career number. His swing and strike rate would be just a little bit below his career number. The bottom line is if he doesn't miss a few more bats, doesn't have to increase it a ton, but keep an eye on that strikeout rate, because if it continues to stay where it is, it might be slightly difficult for him to maintain those ratios, which again have been pretty stellar. Max Scherzer, who we talked about yesterday, soreness in his thumb. I mean, I was talking to Phil Backert about this, our producer at SiriusXM, and the guy that does some cheat sheet breakdowns over at FG and does our ADP for football. And he said, no offense to Max Scherzer, he's a Hall of Famer, but just retire. And I don't know if that's taking things too far here, but, you know, he threw 75 pitches the other day and everything was good. We talked about it on the show yesterday, right? We legitimately did. And now we're hearing he's got soreness in his thumb. And I mean, at some point, I've talked about my shoulder on this show. I've talked about my back on this show. And I'm, a decade older than Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer is over 40. He's not a young guy for an athlete. At some point, your body just says you can't do it. And then it becomes a battle of wills. And I don't know if Max Scherzer's got an imminent announcement of retirement coming up. I don't know what the future holds with him, but this thumb thing has been going on too long. And he's obviously seen tons of doctors and thrown and not thrown and relaxed and not relaxed. And they can't figure this out. And maybe they just won't be able to figure it out. So I hope this is not the way it ends for Max Scherzer. But we'll try to figure this out now. He was hoping to be back next week. Seems almost impossible for that to be the case this year. Now it's a question of, does he return this season? Hope I'm wrong. A guy that is expected to return this season, but the Dodgers just... Tony Gonsolin, who we knew had an elbow issue, we heard that the UCL was okay. Really good news there. No big-time concern he's going to have another surgery on his arm or anything like that. But now he was transferred yesterday to the 60-day IL. Boom. Well, he's gone for 2 months now, and that's obviously now a best-case scenario. I mean, he's out until best-case scenario, best possible case scenario, August, right? Gonsolin is a guy that has pitched well around injuries like so many other Dodgers have, but so the Dodgers will be without Gonsolin for 2 months now. Obviously, that 2 months could end up being the entire season. We'll see how his elbow responds and treatment and rest and throwing and all that kind of stuff. But the Dodgers, who had used Gonsolin basically as a fill-in while these other guys were trying to get healthy, now need other guys to fill in for the guy they had filling in. And that's the situation we all deal with in the fantasy world. And now the Dodgers themselves are dealing with it. And that's kind of rough. Go to fantasyguru.com. Hopefully you're already members at fantasyguru.com. But if you're not, go to FG, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up for the baseball product. Remember, everything we do for baseball is now one package. Wagering, DFS, seasonal, all one package. We also got the football package available over at fantasyguru.com. And remember, it's a full season package. So you sign up right now, you get the rankings, best ball rankings, dynasty rankings, IDP rankings, rookie rankings, PPR rankings, non-PPR rankings. You get articles, you get player profiles, you get breakdowns of, do you handcuff your running backs? Do you go premium tight end? Do you go premium quarterback? What do offensive lines look like? What do coaching systems and schemes look like? What's the future for this guy, for that guy? Got a lot of information over there, and the product continues to grow on a daily basis. You also get access to the podcast when the podcast series starts. There's like 20 of those. You get access to the weekly live stream on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You get access to the Discord room for whatever it is, dynasties, seasonal, DFS, wagering. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner for fantasyguru.com. You can send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. If you have any questions, you want to do something exotic, you don't want to become a VIP Platinum member, which you should, because that gets you everything we do for football, send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. And remember, the products are full season long, called the draft guide, but it's full season long. And one of those guys who contributes heavily to the product all season long, our dynasty expert, as I guess it's his main thing, which is not really fair to say because obviously he's not just a dynasty guy, but he is our dynasty guy, as well as a really good dude. And he's on the show every Friday with us, and that is the gentleman with the middle initial. I have the surname. He's got the middle initial. Let's bring in Russell J. Clay of fantasyguru.com. How you doing, Russ?
What's going on, Ray?
Good to have you here. I know we've been jumping through a lot of hoops. Russ was on with us last night on the Elite Sports Show on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. He's here obviously with us today. He joins us every Friday. Appreciate you being nimble for us, Russ. I know there's been a lot going on behind the scenes.
We're June 20th. We got a lot of free time on our hands, let's be honest. Unless we're working on the draft guide, it's 110 degrees in Arizona. So hanging out with you guys, that's pretty much my my vibe right now.
Is it really 110 there?
It's been like 105 every week. It's rough, yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. We've actually had, I'm in the Bay Area here in California, and we've had 62 to 75 for 2 months. Like we've had no spring hardly. We've definitely had, the summer has not started. We had like 2 days of like 90, like literally 2 days. And then it went back to just 65 every day. So it's been sunny, nice. But we haven't gotten any of that heat yet. I'm afraid of what's going to happen in August and September. It'll be 100 degrees here. But weather is changing though for baseball, Russ. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Like games are getting rained out all the time. They had a doubleheader yesterday because between the Reds and the Pirates, because the day before the game got rained out. So they had a doubleheader. Then in the second game of the doubleheader, they had to stop the game in the ninth inning because of rain. And I was like, oh my God, these guys just to play 18 innings, you got to stop in the ninth inning now for rain. So
I did see Skuball's start got rained out, and I was kind of bummed because I feel like there's a lot of great pitchers right now, of like Skubal, Skeens. There's another guy I was watching, I forget, but it seems like a good era until they all get hurt, right?
Until they get hurt, yeah. Which is we're just every day on the show, and I don't want the baseball visit every day on the show here to just be injury, but it kind of always is.
Yeah,
it's like and it's not just, oh dang it, this guy's hurt. It's like, well, who's going to step up, right? Because someone has to step up. And as we were talking about right there before you came on, the guy in the Dodgers that stepped up, Tony Gonsolin, now he's hurt, so now someone has to step up for the guy who stepped up. And that's something I've dealt with in fantasy. You have a guy get hurt, you pick up a second guy, the second guy gets hurt, now you have to pick up a third guy. Sometimes a third guy gets hurt. Yeah, it's a lot of craziness. So let's talk football, because for once we can talk football without injuries. You're not playing.
Right. I know. You're reminding us of the regular season. That's
yeah. In a couple of months, this will be a totally different visit with you and I too. We'll be talking about all these injuries. But thought we'd bring you on today, and we're doing something we haven't done yet this year. We're doing it basically an either-or segment here with Russ. Going to look at the NFFC's ADP. ADP is different everywhere. That we're just using the NFFC's ADP. Big fan of their product over there. We're looking at their ADP since the start of June. And what I'm basically going to do is we're going to look at guys at position, and I'll give everyone their ADP, and we'll say, Russ, which of these two guys do you want? And you feel free every question, if you want, Russ, to talk about the ADP difference. Some of them are really tight. Some of them are 2 or 3 rounds, maybe 4 rounds difference. Is it you're making a decision for player A or B because of the cost, that kind of thing? So just walk us through your thought process with all these guys. Let's start out the quarterback spot. I'm going to do it to you again. We're in a battle, West Coast versus Russell Clay. Russell Clay is Mr. Trevor Lawrence. His ADP right now is about 113. Ray Flowers is Mr. 49ers because he's from the Bay Area. Brock Purdy's 84. So are you spending an 84th pick on Brock Purdy? You spending an 113th pick on Trevor Lawrence?
Well, What am I doing? I'm picking Trevor Lawrence. I'm waiting and picking Trevor Lawrence. But there's a really good argument for Brock Purdy now that we're coming off a year that was lower end. He had a bunch of injuries. Everything went wrong in San Francisco last year. So that 80 ADP, knowing everybody's coming back, I mean, I imagine there will be an injury or two along the way, but running game looks good. Love the receivers, Pearsall, Ayuk, maybe even a little Jacob Cowing in there, and George Kittle. So the offense should be great again. And we know what the upside is from 2023. So I do like him. I got my guy there.
Another quarterback, and this one's really interesting to me at least. Kyler Murray has been fine, right? I think that's a good way to describe it. He was drafted to be a star. He's not. He's been fine. He's usually QB 8 to 12, right? He's fine. He's at ADP of 84. We asked you a question last night on the broadcast on Sirius XM about Justin Fields because I've always been a big fan of Justin Fields. There are similarities between their two games, obviously running, that kind of stuff. Kyler Murray's at 74 and Justin Fields is at about 110. That's a significant difference. That's 3 rounds, right? Are you taking the consistency and the floor of Kyler Murray at that price point, or would you wait around for Justin Fields?
So the 2021 QB class put me in a blender, right? Like we are very wrong about that class. But I was just looking at it yesterday. We can't forget about that 1,100-yard season for Justin Fields running the ball.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about situation, Kyler clearly has the better situation. And it's not a matter of if Kyler Murray can be a high-end fantasy quarterback. We know that. And I feel like sometimes people click that button thinking we're getting the Kyler Murray who's going to run all the time and throw his body out there. That is not the guy he's been since he's gotten paid, since he's gotten some injuries. He's really not that guy anymore if he wants to be. And that's where, like, when we talk about Kyler, if someone's really low on Kyler, they're not wrong.
Okay. That's me.
Yeah, like if you're really high on Kyler still, I understand why you would be, but it's not a thing most games. He doesn't run like that much anymore, and he hasn't for 3 years. So that's just the unfortunate reality. Love Trey McBride and Marv, but if we're turning Kyler into a pocket quarterback, he's just not going to work.
You know what's interesting? Like, I would love to see these two guys standing next to each other. It'd be hilarious.
Oh, Fields and Kyler?
Because I don't think a lot of times, Kyler's small. Like, people know that. But Justin Fields is like 6'3", like 240. He's huge. He's this big. It would be like, me standing next to my 12-year-old nephew. It'd be like a huge, might be me standing next to you, Russ. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But it'd be a huge difference. Yeah. You're about Kyler Murray's size, right? I mean, honestly.
Yeah. Well, they say he's 5'10". Do we really believe that?
No, I don't.
5'8", right? 5'9", somewhere around there. Yeah, he's just a small guy. He's more of a shortstop or something like that,
More of a second baseman, actually, in the modern game. Yeah. I'm about 6'4", about 195. So I'm not quite Justin Fields, but I have more Justin Fields than Kyler Murray. Let's move on to the running back spot. We've got 2 old guys here, and they are separated by about 25 spots, which, again, about 2 rounds, a significant difference. Alvin Kamara and Aaron Jones. Both guys, kind of on their last legs. Neither one of them a huge target for people, but you look at both of them and 15-plus touches a week certainly seems like it's happening. They're involved in the passing game. In the case of one of the 2 offenses is supposed to be pretty good. The other one in New Orleans, Alvin Kamara's at 50. Aaron Jones is 73. Your thoughts?
I thought Aaron Jones was going to end last year or even a few years ago, and he just keeps plugging away, just like everybody else in the 2017 class. So who am I to doubt Aaron Jones at this point? Also, in the offseason, he loves his Mexican mariachi bands or whatever. So, yeah. So how do we fit that into our fantasy analysis here, Ray?
I don't know.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
You're the expert. You tell us.
I love Minnesota's system, so I would probably go with Aaron Jones there, just based on his ability to elongate his career. So, yeah, I'd go with Jones.
Is Kamara going to be useful all season long? Or is he a running back too? Like, there's a lot of uncertainty with that offense at the Saints.
When I look at Aaron Jones and I look at Alvin Kamara, you would think normally there would be guys that would come along to replace them, but they've somehow completely avoided any of the natural progression. Like, Kamara was supposed to have Kendre Miller as the guy to kind of, move him over to a secondary guy, and that just couldn't have gone worse. So I still like Kendre. I like Devin Neal, the running back out of Kansas, but overall, there's no one to replace him. So just seems like we're going to keep rerunning this.
We all love the shiny new toy. We're talking to Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. We all love, in the sense that everyone, not really everyone, loves the shiny new toy. And it's always more exciting to take the player that could be something than the player that already is something. And this one's kind of interesting to me. Omarion Hampton, who has Najee Harris to deal with, which is a significant concern, I would think, at least early in the season, is obviously in a great spot with the Chargers, but he's got Najee Harris, who has had 250 touches every year of his career, obviously with the Steelers. He's got an ADP of 51 at the NFFC. Tony Pollard, who's boring, but runs for 1,000 yards and catches 45, 50 passes every year, his ADP is 80. Titans are improving. They've improved the offensive line. They've got a new quarterback, obviously, in Cam Ward. You going to take Hampton at 51? You going to wait around and take Pollard at 80? That's a tough call, right?
It's a great point for Hampton, and anyone drafting him in a rookie draft right now or drafting him in a season-long league, you have to know what you're getting into. This is not necessarily a year one that we're going to see him week one be featured. This is probably going to be Najee the first month and a half, 2 months of the year. And then as Hampton makes explosive plays and all that, I love Najee there. I think that's a great setup for year one. It's pretty rare for a guy to come in and be fully ready for a big role year one. I think of a guy like Zeke. Zeke was ready right out of the gate, but there were a lot of guys, including first rounders, that were not ready right away. So I would probably go there.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. He hosts a live stream every Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. He's the guy that runs our Dynasty football product over at fantasyguru.com, and he joins us here every Friday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Let's move over to the wide receiver position. Two guys in the top 50 overall. One of them's the wide receiver 1 for his team. He's the cheaper guy. The other one's the wide receiver 2 for his team. He's the more expensive guy. Higgins T at 34. Rashee Rice at 48. What are you doing here? Suspension concerns with Rice, coming back from an injury with Rice. T. Higgins getting paid and always hurt with the Bengals. Kind of expensive. Oh, wow. You all right there? Is that Norm? Okay, that's not. I thought it was a wine bottle. It's Pellegrino. Okay. I thought you were getting after it at 9:30 in the morning, Russ. Higgins or Rice? Which one of these two you're favoring there? On and off the sauce.
Every time I bring up Rashee Rice, he has a bunch of fantasy defenders that say he should be really, really high in every ranking. Mm-hmm. And I just can't do it yet. There's too much going on. There's a lot going on. Remember in Charlie Brown, there was that kid who had the stuff floating above his head? Pigpen? Yeah. I'm not saying Rashee Rice is a dirty man. He's probably very clean. I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff going on that I don't want to deal with. The major injury, the off-field stuff, and all that. So that's what we're really looking at here. It's not a matter of talent. And then T. Higgins has his own stuff, but it's not as much stuff. It's not as much Pigpen. So we like that. I'll probably go with Higgins there.
we were talking. I was on the show with Jeff Manns on Wednesday on the Elite Sports Game Time Show, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday. I'll actually be on with him again today. He pointed out, we're talking Lions, and he was pointing out how Jameson Williams, who everyone's in love with, whose ADP is 59, and Mr. Pickens, who's now with the Cowboys at 77, are basically the same guy. Statistically, physically, Pickens is actually more impressive, right? You're nodding your head there. Are you taking the round and a half discount and going Pickens here if it's one of these two? Are you going neither of them? Either one of them going to have a breakout season, which we've heard with Williams, which is impossible because he went for 1,000 yards last year. What are you thinking with Williams and Pickens?
Yeah, remember when 1,000 yards was a big deal, and now JMO had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns last year, and we don't even. It's not even considered a breakout. I mean, right. he had a really good year, but in a season-long league, Ray, I don't think he was that fun to own. And I think we see this with a lot of deep threats. Week to week, it's kind of a nightmare because it's probably like guys you need to hit a home run or they strike out every time in baseball, right? It's like JMO's either getting that 40-yard touchdown or he might have 7-6 points. So you're drafting a guy, and my suggestion is if you do draft Jameson Williams, just put him in your lineup every week and forget it and just roll with it. Or don't do it. Or go with the slot guys. It's much easier to go with the slot guys now in 2025 than maybe a decade ago. So, as we've seen more passing volume and as we've seen these slots, I would say do you want to click the button on either of these guys? I will on Pickens because I love Pickens, but there's going to be a lot of weeks where, I don't love Pickens because he got 2 points because he had 2 offensive pass interferences. So that's just the reality.
Punched his coach, hit a fan. Yeah, there's lots of things going on there. With both those guys, obviously, too, right? A lot of stuff off the field. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Jalen Waddle at 72 or Cooper Kupp at 95. I mean, both guys got positives. Both guys got some injury issues. Kupp a little more substantial, a little more age. But, again, we're talking of a 2-3 round difference here between these two guys.
Oh, boy. The Cooper Kupp thing, I'm having trouble getting back into that. Tyler Beaker gave some great analysis early in the year. That's really simple. And sometimes that's the best thought process, which is if the Rams medical staff decided Kupp was ready to be let go of, it's probably time. They have a pretty good read on things. They've held on to Stafford we thought Stafford was going to retire 3 years ago, and he's still going. So the Kupp thing smells like Reggie Wayne on the Patriots a little bit. So I'm going to avoid him from now on.
What about these two youngsters? And again, there's a significant gap here with these two players. Josh Downs of the Colts, who it's tough to gauge because we don't know who his quarterback is going to be. It's looking like Daniel Jones, but we don't know for certain. His ADP is 108. Then you got Keon Coleman, who's 141. We talked about Coleman yesterday with Tyler Beaker, and he basically says, I need Coleman to prove it. Like, he was not a big fan of him coming out of school, and he hasn't liked what he's seen to date. So I don't think he'd go Coleman. Will you go Coleman here or Downs? Obviously concerned with both guys and a gap here of a couple of rounds again.
Here's the argument for Coleman in 2025.
Okay.
Second round pick last year, the first pick in the second round, tested out pretty well, and was a really good final season at Florida State. Still relatively young. He's 20. He just turned 22 a couple months ago. So very young, hyper athletic, and there is nobody else like him on that Bills offense. There's a higher ceiling than what's perceived right now. And with the way the Bills have built their offense, you don't need to be a superstar to have, Josh Allen rolling out and you being wide open because he pulled all the attention away. So this is not an offense where you have to dominate your routes. You don't have to be CeeDee Lamb. You don't have to be Justin Jefferson. There's going to be games where he scores 20 points because he's just wide open because Josh Allen ran around in the pocket for 10 seconds and finally a guy lost coverage. So that is the game on that Bills offense. We see Shakir had a pretty solid year. No, I don't think the ceiling's there for Coleman this year, but can he get to 1,000? I'd say at his ceiling, he probably can.
What about the tight end position? Can't have a discussion without talking some tight ends here. And two guys here, again, separated by about 25 spots, like 30 spots. George Kittle's at 49. TJ Hockenson's at 81. A little bit different stylistic players. Both guys very productive. One guy's probably more about touchdowns and breaking tackles. The other guy's more about getting first downs. A little bit of a gap here between these two. A little bit of an age difference between these two as well. Two offenses that should be effective this year. Kittle at 49, too expensive. Are you going to wait around on Hockenson at 81? Or are you going to go with Kittle?
Probably
high price,
Kittle.
Right?
Probably Kittle.
Okay.
I like Kittle at that range. It's not too expensive like maybe it was in previous years. We know what we're getting there. We know some weeks he's not going to be a full part of the game plan, but there are those ceiling weeks that matter a lot for fantasy football. And that offense does appear like it's going through a transition, so they may lean more on him this year than currently expected. What I will say is we don't know what this JJ McCarthy thing is at all. It could be horrible. It could be a nightmare from week one, or there could be a lot of upside there. And Hockenson was coming off injury last year. Fully healthy Hawkinson's one of the best tight ends in the league, and he could be leaned on a little more than previously seen in Minnesota. So that's what we're looking at. I would go with Kittle, though, for now.
Okay. And that's a good point. I mean, Hockenson might have more 12-point games, but Kittle might have more 19-point games, right? That's kind of, yeah. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Final question for you, Russ. Got to talk Kyle Pitts. We talked Trevor Lawrence, so we got to talk Kyle Pitts. We talked Kyle Pitts last Friday, too. By the way, if you missed it on his visit last week with us here on the show, Russell broke down. He gave me a review on my Dynasty League team. 12-team league, 45 roster spots, IDP, the whole thing. So if you missed that, look at last Friday's show. I drafted Kyle Pitts in that league in the 17th round, and we talked about him. It's like, okay, at that price point, sure. He's at 153 in ADP, so he's not overly expensive in a redraft format either. And that is significantly behind Evan Ingram, who's at 115. You can make the case pro and con for both guys. Is there enough of a discount here to go Pitts over Ingram, or do you like Ingram with Denver enough to jump the ADP here and take him over Pitts?
It's the off season, so can we just bully Kyle Pitts? Let's just bully Kyle Pitts and say no for now.
Okay.
I'm trying to do the 1980s mentality of bullying works and bullying motivates. So that's what we're going to do to Kyle Pitts. And hopefully we get to see that potential, which I believe is pretty much unlimited. There is unlimited upside for old Kyle Pitts. But if we're just talking about a reasonable floor here, Evan Ingram he was fantastic in Jacksonville the last couple years. And the only reason last year went haywire and went down the drain, I'm not saying he wasn't injured. That season was lost. He was a veteran, and they had a second-round pick. They wanted to see what they had in Brenton Strange in Jacksonville. So they essentially used the second half of last year to see if they had anything in Strange. So that's what happened there with Ingram. And he could be Bo Nix. We could be in week 5 and look at Ingram and say, oh, wow, we should have seen this coming. So Ingram's always been talented too. And actually, he was a little Kyle Pittsy early in his career with New York, right? Yep. He was a guy we drafted for years and then just never really did it other than his rookie year. So Yeah, first round tight ends are very frustrating.
Or fun, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. Russ is part of the draft guide package. He's part of the seasonal package. He's part of everything we do on the football side of things over at FG. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. As I've noted multiple times here, as we talk about every Friday when he comes on, he's our dynasty guy. You update the dynasty rankings once a week. That's still the way we're operating right now, Russ?
Yes, sir. It's getting tough to find things to update at this point.
Right.
You know, you can only look through the list so many times and make adjustments before you're like, well, am I just disagreeing with myself now? Where am I? What just happened? So, but it is a fun time of year, and, you know, you get different perspectives that do shift things a little bit. So those are every week. And yeah, we got, I mean, the draft guide, I'm amazed at how much content we have coming out right now. So it's pretty great.
What else are you working on behind the scenes? I noted again, you're on the live stream every Tuesday at 7:00 Eastern Standard Time. What else are you working on?
So we got the live stream. I've been doing Dynasty roster reviews. Those have been fun. If you want to get involved in the Dynasty Discord, there's a bunch of questions going on over there. I have an article coming out today on Superflex, rookie drafts and rookie drafts. We're just going to go through and review all that good stuff. So the people want analysis. My advice is this is the time of year to have fun. So if you're in a rookie draft your guys, and you know, the strategy is one thing or another, but the people want strategy, so we'll give it to them.
And I would build on something Russ just said. And again, we're shilling a product here at the end of the day, but get involved now. You know you're going to sign up eventually. You know you're going to do it, right? Sign up now, because as Russ said, if you sign up in a month and a half, there are going to be 182 articles to read, and you're not going to get through it. You're not going to get all the information that's available, because I know how it is. It's hard for people to read 5,000 words in a day, Russ. If they got to sit down and try to read 130,000, they're sunk. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, that was my school experience. Yeah.
You weren't a big reader, Russ? That wasn't your jam?
Until the night before the test. Wow. Then I was a huge scholar the night before.
We're like I think we might actually be considered a generation apart, pretty close in you know, the way they do that. Are clip notes still a thing, or were they still a thing when you were in school?
I think so, but they were kind of frowned upon.
Yeah, well, they were when I was too, but yeah.
But yeah, they were around. They were kicking around. Ours was Wikipedia and like internet sources, which weren't great at that time. Right. But I do laugh now. That's kind of that wouldn't even be considered bad compared to what they have now with the AI and everything.
Yeah, true. It's interesting how it changes, like we're saying, every generation. I remember in particular one time when I was a freshman in high school, one of my best friends didn't read the book. And I want to say it was Guns of Navarone. I think that was the book. And so we sat down at lunch, and I told him what it was about, because I was a big reader. I was, I guess, the opposite of you, Russ. And so I told him what it was at lunch. We spent lunch, ate sandwiches, and talked about the book. You know, a week later, we get the test back, because it was an essay test. I got like an 88 and he got a 92. And I'm like, come on, man.
That son of a.
Yeah, right? It's like, apparently I was a reader, but not a writer. It's like, oh, son of a bitch. So hopefully all of you did well in school. And if you're in school now, read. Don't wait till the last night.
Don't. Listen. Don't be like Russ in high school and college, all right?
But look what it got you. Got you a job at fantasyguru.com, so it worked out in the end, Russ. Right?
Hey, I will read a lot about Marshawn Lloyd and whoever, but yeah.
Marshawn Lloyd on my dynasty team behind Josh Jacobs. Again, we talked about last Friday if you want to check that review out. Russ, thanks for your time today. We really appreciate it. We'll see you again on Friday next week at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Have a great weekend. Stay cool, and we'll talk to you in a week.
Thanks, Ray.
You got it. He's Russell Clay. I'm Ray Flowers. He joins us again every Friday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Next week, remember, we're here Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And the Elite Sports Game Time show, normally in the evening, is shifting to the morning on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Justin Fensman and I will be on from 9 to 11 Eastern Time AM next week. So stay tuned for that. Listen to that show for 2 hours in the morning, and then flip over to this show at 9 o'clock West Coast time, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. For Russ, I'm Ray. Have a great weekend. It's been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.